I'm excited today to share this interview with you with Kyle Siegel. Kyle is the founder and CEO of Raide Research, a new company that I recently learned about that I am super excited about. I think you'll find after talking to Kyle that he is very bright, he's very capable, he is very motivated, and his company, his products are very cool. Before we get into that interview, I want to tell you very quickly about Liberty Blankets. The Liberty Blanket is a product that I made after sitting at my kids' soccer games, freezing in the rain and cold and wind. And I had a sleeping bag with me wrapped around my legs, and then it started raining, and I had to put that away. And so then I just froze the rest of the day. And after that day, I thought, I've got to do something about this. And so I looked online for a product that would solve my problems, and I couldn't find anything that I really liked. And so I ended up making one of my own. Some of my friends saw my blanket at the next soccer games, and they wanted one as well. And that's where the Liberty Blanket started. So the Liberty Blanket is an outdoor blanket that's insulated. It's very water resistant. It has a foot pocket to help keep your feet warm and dry and keep your blanket in place. It has some clips on the top corners and bottom corners, actually, that'll help keep the blanket wrapped around you and over your shoulders so you don't have to hold it all the time. And it's just really the ideal blanket for spending time outside. It's easy to wash, easy to clean, and we use it for everything. So check it out. If you use code YT30 on checkout, if you want to buy one, you'll get 30% off your order. If you order 2 or more blankets, you'll get free shipping. So go to www.libertyblanketco.com and check those blankets out. And without further ado, let's get to the interview with Kyle and Raide Research. All right. So, Kyle, thanks for joining me today for this little interview. I guess to start, maybe would you introduce yourself real quick and maybe tell us a little bit of your background, where you came from, and then what you're doing now.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Greg. My name's Kyle. I'm the founder, CEO of Raide, which is a new backcountry pack and apparel company that launched this past October of 2023. And yeah, my background is on the engineering side, and more in like the technology industry. Worked in aerospace, and some different tech companies. Have also been like a ski instructor for 11 years and big backcountry skier. I decided to kind of combine those passions, and entered the outdoor industry like halfway through my career. Got a job at the North Face, and worked at a couple other companies in the outdoor industry, and eventually led me to starting Raide, which was just born out of my frustrations as someone who moves in the mountains under my own power.
Right now you have 2 products, right? A backpack and a little boot accessory thing to help with forward lean and stuff like that. How did your experience in those other industries kind of prepare you to make something that really is a little bit space age for us ski mountaineers and backcountry skiers?
Yeah, I think there are like 2 main influences being, or maybe 3, that kind of having an engineering background really shaped the way I went about Raide and even caused me to like start Raide. The first and the biggest one is just being really like problems and solution oriented. So instead of like, I think some brands might approach building a product by choosing like a price point and category that they want to hit first. I approach it more from like, what are the problems that I want to solve for the customer that I'm trying to address? And how can I like build a product that solves those problems at the like specs that I want? So it's really, like a laundry list of little things. Like, I don't like the helmet carry on a lot of packs because, they're time consuming to like do and undo, and they're less secure, and you can't put stuff inside your helmet. Or like, I want the pick of the ice tool is to be completely covered on my pack to have like a really clean exterior. Or I want, a lot of packs are just don't have good access, and that makes my day slower. So I like really attacked it from those problems, and like didn't try to optimize the cost through the whole project. It was all about solving problems, and Raid will continue to build lots of products that solve various problems for people that are trying to move efficiently in the mountains. And so yeah, that was like the first way engineering influenced it. I think the second way was just like having um, the attitude of like all the problems can be solved, um, and just not putting constraints on that. And then the third thing is just being really like testing and experience focused. Like my job at SpaceX was um, pretty much all testing. Like the stuff I did at SpaceX couldn't be modeled or like really uh, worked on in a lab. So it was all about like doing tests in the field and bringing that to the pack and making sure it's properly field tested, getting feedback from lots of people, um, has definitely shaped the products as well.
All right. So as you worked on this pack, did you work on it while you were still employed at some of these other places? And has this been kind of a years long process?
Yeah. So you have a full-time job at a like small tech startup. Now I still work there. And Raid is kind of what I do in the off hours. And I'm the only person at the company. I yeah, started kind of a little over a year ago. Or yeah, like a year and a half ago, got the first prototype about a year ago. And then just iterated through 9 prototype rounds really quickly. And that is sort of the timeline.
Nice. So do you sew and do all that stuff? Did you do all the prototyping, or did you work with someone who kind of helped in that process?
No, well, I kind of so when I like started the process of making this pack, like the goal was just to make one for myself.
Uh-huh.
And so I like took some sewing lessons and then I quickly learned, how hard it was to make a pillow. And I was like, it's gonna be a little bit longer, but too long of a timeline for me if I'm gonna like sew this myself. So then I went to some hobbyist backpack manufacturers, and that didn't really pan out for like the complexity of the pack that I had in mind. And then yeah, I went to Asia, found a factory. They did all the prototyping with me. So just like lots of back and forth, like sending design specs and revision specs and stuff like that. And I went to Vietnam and did a lot of iteration there. Um, and yeah, that was kind of the process.
Cool. So I saw that your current packs are sewn in Vietnam. Is that
Correct.
correct? So my experience, and I'm not really here for me so much, but I've worked a lot with manufacturers in Vietnam, a little bit in China, but quite a bit in Vietnam, and also here in the US. And I found that when I saw that they were sewn in Vietnam, I actually kind of gave a sigh of relief because they make such good stuff over there. The quality, the technology, all of those types of things, hard to find here. And
Totally. Yeah.
I just find like, so I've got a little company, little kind of side passion project, and then I work as a product designer for another company. And we for both companies we manufacture some of those products in Vietnam, and I am blown away at the skill and the quality, how well they can put stuff together. So anyway, I just mentioned that because um, there are some people who kind of poo-poo the idea of being manufactured overseas and and various but my experience has been almost only good.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for better, for worse, we live in a global economy.
Right.
And I I think different regions have specialized in different areas of expertise. And US is not where there's like expertise in building soft goods.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And when I look at your pack now, I've only seen it online. I've watched a little YouTube video that you did explaining the features, and I've looked at the photos and stuff. It looks like it is immaculately produced. Just it looks beautifully well made. So I think you're doing something right.
Yeah, thank you. It really just speaks to the factory. They make technical packs for a lot of other brands in the outdoor space. And yeah, it's just all about getting into the right factory. And they take a lot of the guesswork out of making like a really durable construction. And they know like, things, like the right stitch count to use, stuff like that. And yeah, they helped out tremendously.
Very cool. So getting into so your products, first of all, you have a little forward lean mod. Was that just because the ski boots that you like to use weren't quite right, so you made one, and then you're like, "There's probably somebody else that wants this."
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, I to make one for myself, it wasn't gonna like economically compute
Right,
unless I made some for a lot of people. And it so it just happened that this boot also, like anecdotally from me being like seeing what people are wearing at trailheads, I think it is the most popular
right,
backcountry boot, the Technica Zero G Pro Tour, as well as works on the other Technica Zero G tour models like the Scout and the women's version. I don't know all the names off the top of my head, but not the Peak.
right,
And yeah, it's like I think regarded across most people like it's the best balance of like ski performance and weight.
right,
Um, it's like a 1,300 gram 4 buckle boot that is a true 130 flex, but it puts you in this really upright ski stance. Um, so I found myself not reaching for the boot very much compared to other touring boots that I have. And partially was because of that reason. And I was like, I just wanted to solve that and thought people would buy it if I did. And yeah, we sold out and are now doing like a second production run.
very cool. Yeah, I'm in the process this year of replacing in some old boots. I mostly ski on Dynafit boots. As I went and tried on a bunch of boots and was talking to people, it's amazing. Almost everybody was like, "Have you tried the Zero G yet?" Everybody's like, "Well, if you like Dynafit, have you tried Zero G? Because it's all the benefits there plus some." And anyway, I don't have a pair of Zero Gs yet, but it feels like I'm being pushed that way, and I need to probably get in some to try it out. I'm glad to know
Yeah.
that you have more of those mods coming, because if I do end up with a pair, I'll probably need the mods. So
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
cool. So then the pack. Um, so I was looking online at kind of the closest competition for what you have, and there's some packs that are a little less expensive but made of much lesser materials. And then there's some packs that seem comparable with materials but are quite a bit more expensive. It seems like you've got quite a good um, balance for what it is between affordability and also performance and materials and stuff. I mean, I guess that's not a question, that's just an
I
observation. Um,
think it's the right observation for
yeah.
sure.
When you started, were you like, I know exactly what materials I want to use, and You probably had an idea in your mind of the problems, like you said, the problems you wanted to solve and how that was kind of gonna shape out. Or maybe that's a question. You knew the problems you wanted to solve. Does the pack that you have now look like what you had envisioned in your mind, or did it change quite a bit over the process of testing?
Yeah, I had a pretty clear vision in my head of what I wanted the pack to be like, and it's pretty close to that. There was like so many little things to fine tune though, just on, yeah, like what the right depth of the pack is and the right zippers to use and the right foam, and then getting the idea that I had in my head to the weight uh that I wanted it to get to was really hard. Um, and I really wanted it to get below 1 kilo, but I wasn't able to do that. And so it's like 1100, 1090 grams in the large size, so a little lighter in the small size. And then answering your other question, like, yeah, I did pretty much know the material that I wanted to use going into the project, so that really helped.
Yeah, very cool. So, I know you're using a variety of Dyneema type products. Is it from like Dyneema composite fabrics that you're getting most of this stuff, or is it?
No, and actually none of them are like the Dyneema composite hybrids. So like Dyneema is like a name brand
Right,
of this material called ultra high molecular weight polyethylene.
right,
Um, just like Kleenex is like a name brand tissue.
right,
Um, and so to go a little bit more into detail there, it's like like Dyneema invented that material and patented it. And that's why people kind of use Dyneema and ultra high molecular weight polyethylene interchangeably. However, I'm using that material because the patent's now expired
right.
from a different manufacturer that is called Challenge.
Mhm.
And they are you doing a
Oh yeah,
different
I saw that.
construction. Um, they do a different construction than what you might have seen from Dyneema or some other suppliers. Um, there's some other suppliers that call it Spectra and Extrema. Those are just other like name brands of ultra high molecular weight polyethylene.
Right. Yeah, that's a good call. I did see that you're using Challenge. I've got I made just some bear bags out of 800D Challenge fabric
Oh, nice.
and a variety of little accessories and stuff that I've used Challenge fabric for. So I know that stuff is super solid, really well,
Yeah,
really well made. Does Challenge, I think, did Challenge start out as a sail fabric?
they did. Yeah.
Yeah, seems like most of those did. Yeah, it's really cool. So you've got it. This pack is a 40-liter pack to start with. I imagine that maybe in the future you have some ideas as to maybe different other volumes of packs.
Yeah, yeah. We're coming out with a 30-liter next season, as well as some other products that I can't share yet, but I've
Sure.
been fairly open about the 30-liter, which has been requested. I started with a 40-liter because I wanted the pack that I could like take on my like highlight objectives of the year.
Right.
Even if it maybe is a little bit more volume than what I take on my typical day tour,
Sure.
it's still light enough or lighter than what most people are taking on their typical day tour.
Cool. Very cool. So, but it's light enough. It seems that even at a four and it compresses and stuff like that, even at
Yeah.
40 liters, which is bigger than I would use personally for a day tour, this is still lighter than my ski touring pack that I use for day tours. It's smaller, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, I don't have to fill it up. I don't see why I wouldn't want to use this over the one that I'm currently using.
Yeah, exactly. And it cinches down really well. Like one like really unanimous comment from people that have used the pack is how well it skis and how well it cinches down and how well it carries.
Yeah, cool. So that was my next question. Uh, how how well does it carry? Obviously, it carries well. You've said it. I've read a couple of little reviews that have said the same thing. But what would you say is the weight limit of the frame, and kind of how heavy have you designed it to comfortably carry?
Yeah. Yeah. So like the pack expands to like 50-ish liters. The intent there is for it to be like a really versatile pack that can flex up to hut trips and is light enough for day tours, like we said. Um, as you just alluded to, like the reason it carries well is partially because it has a full aluminum frame on the perimeter of the pack. It's like a 7 millimeter wide aluminum tubing. It's removable. And um, as well as like I made sure to not skimp on the foam where you need it. Um, the foam weighs a ton and relatively. Um, and like a lot of packs sometimes that are lighter weight skimp on the foam.
Right.
And um, like one of my design principles in this process was like comfort or discomfort equates to being slow.
Okay.
Like comfort, yeah, and comfort leads to speed, like, or at least doesn't take away from achieving speed. So like if you're like uncomfortable and you're constantly like shifting your pack around and adjusting straps and load lifters and trying to get more weight on the hips and it doesn't work, like it slows you down. And I've had that experience out in the field. Um, so I wanted to make sure I had a pack that carried well. In terms of like a weight number, it's very subjective. Um, I think it carries like in the 40 to 50 pound range. Well, I think you're gonna max out unless you're carrying like filling the pack with liquid, you're most likely gonna max out the volume before you max out the weight.
Right. Well, that's high. That's more than I kind of expected. I even
Yeah.
thought it like 30 to 40 pounds. That was pretty good. I rarely, I've done some lightweight, multi-day ski tours and stuff like that, and I rarely get over 40 pounds on something like that. And of course, for a day tour, it's 30 pounds or less for the most part.
Yeah, I think the way some people the most common use case where you're carrying the pack over 40 is like on a dirt approach
Yeah,
for an overnight. So like you have the pack for an overnight or just like a big mission and then you have your skis
skis
with
and
your
boots.
boots on the skis and just like your skis and boots are gonna weigh, 10 pounds.
Right.
Um, if not more right there. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And in those situations, I feel like even if I don't know, so my attitude, I guess, is if you have to overload a pack for a little while, you can kind of get through that in order to, once you hit the snow, you put your skis on, boots on, or whatever, and you're good to go. I'd rather not carry a heavy pack with, well, anyway.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, so, like the pack flexes up to 50, but to get it to like 50, 55 liters, like the material is a lot less durable that like allows the pack to flex up to that volume
Right.
because like that's not the most common use case. Like if I were to build a pack that excelled and like was the perfect pack for that scenario where you're carrying 40 pounds, it would not be a good pack on a daily day-to-day use. And I think there are some companies that are trying to market a 50 to 60 liter pack as like a general ski touring pack. And if your pack excels on an overnight mission, there's just no chance it is what you should be taking
Right.
for a day tour or like even like a long day objective.
Right. Yeah, I was in Alaska last spring with some friends, doing some climbing and skiing. And, my climbing pack was a 50-liter pack, but it was kind of an ultralight pack without it. I'd taken the frame out and everything like that. And so when I had everything loaded, a rope, cams, screws, like everything that I needed for the climb, it was kind of a heavy pack and it wasn't super comfortable. But you hike with that for an hour or two to approach the climb. Once you're on the climb, all the heavy stuff's out of the pack. And now I've got like 10 pounds, 12 pounds in my pack.
Yeah.
I didn't want like a big stiff pack that wouldn't move and, was not ideal just to carry comfortably for a couple of hours. Right. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And like in the design process, for me, it's all about like what's the 90% use
right,
case.
right,
And I get a lot of questions of like, what about this or what about this? And a lot of times my response is like, you know, I designed the pack with like this common use case in mind. And like almost all the time it like accommodates a different use case. Probably the most common example is like question I get is like, why is there no water bottle pocket on the shoulder strap? And for me, it's like I usually only drink water when I transition. I
yeah,
might stop once per lap, if that, to drink water. And then so you have that, and there are a lot of other people like that. And then, bottles freeze. And so it's like I'd rather, and you can always add on a water bottle holder. So it's like I designed for the common use case of like and the more minimal use case of not adding bulk, but it's like I'm not stopping anyone from adding
right,
on a water holder.
yeah, yeah, that makes sense. So, um, my experience is that I like to have gear that is specialized for the use that I have. With that said, there are a few pieces of gear that seem to have, even though they're specialized pieces, they're just so well designed and such a useful size that they cover a lot of things. I look at this pack and I feel like that would be the case with this pack. It's light enough that there is probably no situation where I'm looking at it and saying, oh, I wish it was lighter, or oh, it's too heavy for this situation. It probably compresses small enough where I'm not looking at it for, if I'm going out for 3 or 4 hours in the morning before work, where I'm saying, oh, it's too big and bulky. You know, but it does expand enough that I could say, hey, I can get away with this for a hut trip or, an overnight ski tour or something like that. So it seems like really just kind of a good pack that covers 90% of what backcountry skiers and ski mountaineers are going to use it for.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was the intent. So usually with most of my other gear, I fall into your camp of having like the specialist tool for the job. Like I have 3 touring boots, I have 9 pairs of skis. Um, I the big difference with the backpack is you have like all of your systems and organization like is specific to the pack that you're using, and you have to change, like, unless you have multiple sets of like your first aid kit, your emergency puffy, your avalanche rescue tools, you're change it like every time you change a pack, you have to change that stuff over, which is like, not the case when you like take out a different boot or a different ski. Um, like your interface with it is the same. Like if you have different bindings on different skis or different boots, like it's still generally like your flow of a transition is very similar. But like a backpack, it's backpack model to different backpack model. It like really changes how you kind of move, and also the added thing, like you could forget stuff and then that becomes like a safety issue. Um, so I think the backpack is like where I like to have like one one product for as many use cases as possible. Whereas with my other gear, I'm like constantly bringing out different pieces of equipment based on what I'm doing for
Right.
that day.
Yeah. Yep. So, as I'm looking at this pack here, um, it looks like this is designed, at least Let's see here. So it's obviously designed to carry skis. It does also carry snowboard, it looks like.
Yep. Yeah, it has diagonal ski carry and A-frame ski carry, and then vertical snowboard carry and A-frame snowboard carry.
And I'm trying to remember because I've kind of been geeking out once I saw your pack. So a buddy of mine um listened to your interview on the Blisters Gear 30 podcast. And he sent me a text and said, dude, you need to look at this. I think you'll really like it. And, from on paper, it looks awesome. But then after seeing your pack, I started just like geeking out on all the different packs and kind of making spreadsheets
Yeah,
of, different stuff.
nice.
And so I'm trying to remember. So your pack does snowboard, does ski. Do you have kind of like like a skimo race style pack diagonal carry?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it's not like the primary thing I designed the diagonal ski carry around, but yeah, you can put your skis in without taking your pack off. Maybe a little bit harder once you get over a 105, 110 underfoot ski, but
Okay.
yeah, it's possible.
Okay. And obviously, if the pack is completely full, that might be a little trickier
Yeah,
as well with the pack on. And then you've got a rear, kind of a back panel entry for the main body of the pack. It looks like,
correct.
and a top and
Correct.
top access. And then your tool pocket is right on the front. Is that underneath where your helmet would go?
Correct.
So you've got quick access there. You can also, and then it looks like on the face, you've got what looks like a waterproof pocket.
Like on the front, there's
Yeah,
a
on the
little just a little pocket for like your snacks stuff that's you want to access frequently.
right. Is there sorry, okay. So the helmet carry, the stretchy fabric for the helmet, that's the top of the tool pocket and goes over that.
No, so where the stretchy helmet carry is, there's just like a big stash pocket below that,
Oh,
and
okay.
that is like open to the world. It's
Okay.
not like it's not zippered. It has drainage out of it for that reason, and it the typical use case is a place to put your skins. The way I use it is like usually I'll start with like an active insulation layer on my ski tours. Uh, After I'm like touring for like 20 minutes, I usually get too hot and I take it off and I stuff it in that pocket, which is just nice, quick, to not touch a zipper. And then I'll get to the top. I will take that insulation layer out, put it on, and then I'll put my skins in that compartment so that you don't have to have your wet skins in your main compartment.
I
And
see.
then like behind that is like a zipper access to the Abby Tools pocket.
Okay. Yeah, I'm seeing that now. Neat. I should have looked at all these photos again before we started. So um cool. And then it looks like your tool pocket is separated by a waterproof fabric layer that has a hole in it for, the head of a
Yep.
shovel as needed, if you're using the BD shovel. But there's probably some others too.
Yeah, there's others.
Yeah. But that's cool. So you're at least keeping your potentially snowy, wet tools, assuming you have to use them for something, separated from the main pocket. And then you've got a roll top closure as well as a drawstring closure on the top. So that roll top can expand to 50 liters, you said?
Yeah, so that roll top it's definitely something that's pretty different from what some people are used to. So basically like the roll top, it's a really light fabric. It's fully waterproof fabric though. It's light and more or less durable than other fabrics on the pack because it's like 95% of the time it's like tucked away behind the cinch. And you can either have it rolled like a normal waterproof bag, like rolled down closed, And that gives you like a second compartment in between the roll top and the cinch top. Or I made a way to, you can roll it backwards on itself, and then there are these snaps to stow it. So then you just are dealing with the cinch top, the roll tops completely out of the way.
Yeah,
Uh,
that is.
and you get that quick cinch top access.
Yeah, that's a cool idea. I saw that on your video that you did, kind of highlighting that,
Nice.
and I thought you've obviously done a lot of ski touring and stuff like that to have thought about something like that
Yeah.
because I've
Yeah,
got.
it's all about the trade-offs. I personally use the back panel access to get in and out of the pack like 99% of the time.
Yeah, yeah, I think I would too. But I'll have to say though, like if I'm climbing, because as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking I'd use this skiing all the time, but I'd use it climbing all the time too.
Nice.
I probably I live just 30 seconds down the road from a trailhead for a bunch of backcountry skiing in my area. And then about 20 minutes from some good waterfalls. And so I usually ski about 3 mornings a week and climb once or twice a week
Nice.
in the mornings before work. And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, yeah, I think I'd use it for everything, but for both things. I've got a ski touring pack that I use now and a climbing pack that are separate. That, but looking at yours, I'm thinking, yeah, I'd probably use yours for both things. Although if I'm ski touring, I'd use the back panel access, and if I'm climbing, I'd use the top access. So
Yeah,
I could see the advantage to both of those.
totally.
Cool. So you've got a 5-year warranty, which is that's like
Yeah.
better than
Yeah, we'll
normal.
see how that goes. I mean, I stand behind the product for
Sure.
sure, fabric, and um I mean there are packs that are like Patagonia has their ironclad warranty, and
Sure.
as a new brand, I wanted to really stand behind the product with
Sure.
like solid warranty.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, that tells us a little bit about how well it was made, the confidence that you have in it. And, there's companies like Patagonia, obviously, that are great companies, big companies that can probably afford to handle something like that, like an unconditional warranty. But I was just looking at this, and I'm thinking of some other packs that I'm aware of that are kind of in that would compete with
Yeah.
you that don't offer 5 years.
Yeah. I will say it's not like unconditional. Like if you like melt the
Sure.
pack on your car exhaust or fireplace, like we're not gonna cover that.
Right.
But if it's anything from like that's Raide's fault, we'll cover.
Sure. Very cool. So, getting into um, kind of the how you manufactured the pack, it looks like the seams are stitched, right?
Yeah, they're stitched, they're not sealed.
Okay, so I
They're
would.
not seam taped. Yeah.
Okay, so we would the consumer, the purchaser, I guess, would just take some seam grip or whatever to some of those seams if you want to.
Yeah, if you wanted a fully waterproof pack, you could like, as its primary application is snow, like a lot of snow packs are not
Right.
seam taped.
Right.
Um, and but this pack fabric is significantly more waterproof than most pack fabrics, like
Right.
by like a 5 to 10x multiple more waterproof than a lot of pack fabrics. Yeah.
No, I have some waterproof. I have some gear that's made of waterproof fabric, not seam taped. And when I use it in winter, a lot of the stuff that I have is for winter. I never seal the seams anyway, because generally snow's not wet enough to get through the seams,
Hmm.
especially if it's stitched real tight.
Yeah.
It'll
Yeah. And I
probably
think
not.
like, there like if you're in a really wet, uh, particularly wet objective, there might be a better pack. I'm not gonna claim that I'm like the perfect pack for like every sort of thing. And yeah. But I do think people will like maybe pay attention to seams being sealed more than they do of the actual like waterproofness of the fabric.
Right.
Because like most packs are like 10 to 20 times less waterproof than your jacket.
Right.
but you depend on your pack to keep your jacket dry. And then you depend on your jacket to keep your body dry. And so if your pack isn't keeping your stuff dry, um, what use is all the other stuff?
Right.
And so, yeah, like a lot of pack fabrics use a coating and they're only rated to like 1,000 to 2,000 millimeters of hydrostatic head, whereas like most jackets are 20,000 to 30,000. And then my pack fabric is 130,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. Very cool. Um,
Yeah.
if you were to summarize what you feel like the specific, I guess you said that you designed this pack for what you would want in a pack, right?
Yeah.
So what type of objectives are your what's your sweet spot as far as you obviously love backcountry skiing,
Hmm.
which I'm sure includes powder skiing and stuff. But I'm
Yeah.
guessing by the design of the pack, you also like the ski mountaineering type stuff.
Yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
bigger lines and some of those types of things as well, right?
I mean, I'd say like I'm addicted to like efficient human powered movement in the mountains. And that's what Raid is like all about. Um, and that applies to powder skiing, that applies to ski mountaineering, that applies to trail running. Um, and yeah, so like I'd say it maybe is leaning a little bit more mountaineering towards like powder skiing. There are some features on there like the ability to carry ice tools that you don't need on maybe your traditional ski touring pack. But I tried to build a versatile pack. Um, and yeah, like I'm a skier first. Like I'm not a climber and I'm not an endurance athlete uh by choice, I guess I could say. I'm like a skier by choice, and I like have learned climbing and mountaineering skills and like forced my body to have slightly better fitness than I used to just for ski touring. Um, and that's what I really wanted to create a brand around, which is like I felt like the brands that were addressing the type of person who's a skier first with like heavy, like overbuilt equipment. And then the people that were like more on the endurance uphill side, they like labeled them as like they're like fitness people and they're not like skiers first. But I was like, I know that there's like this big category in the middle of people who like pride themselves on skiing like really beautifully with style, but they're going out and they're doing 6 to 10K days on a weekly basis, at least once a week, if not more. And that person like wants to look good but like also needs gear that's not holding them back on the uphill. And that's what I'm trying to build products for.
Very cool. Yeah, I think there is a market for that for sure. And looking at your pack, because I don't know that I would like consider myself a climber by hardcore climber standards. Um, but I love to I love ice climbing, I love mountaineering, I love skiing, and when I can combine them all together, that's like the holy grail for me. That's my favorite.
Yeah.
And so but what I find is my dedicated climbing packs are hard. It's difficult to, they don't make the best ski packs.
Yeah.
Kind of slow access to Avi tools, and a lot of times if you get a really good climbing pack, it's so minimal and stripped down on the outside, so it's
Mhm.
not snagging on stuff when you're like scumming up a chimney or whatever. Or but then and that's great. But then when you're ski touring with it, it's kind of a pain, because anytime you want to strip a layer or grab a layer, there's only one access in the top for the pack, and you're pulling stuff out all the time. You're digging through, you've got your Avi tools in there, and it's just really not ideal. So I found that hardcore climbing packs don't make good ski packs, but a well-designed ski pack can make a great climbing pack. And I kind of feel like
Yeah.
that's where yours fits.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope so. I mean, it's different. Like climbing, I think weight's more important. Climbing, like you're pulling whatever you're wearing, like you're pulling up whatever you're climbing. Whereas like with skiing, it's not like the ground is supporting your weight. You're not pulling like whatever your body weight plus your pack weight is um up. And but weight's still important because a percentage of your body weight plus pack weight, you are moving up the mountain. But then you also have these other components. Whereas like with skiing, you have a lot more gear that you're interfacing with and pulling in and out of your pack, and you have the Avi tools component. And with climbing, you're like kind of more in two modes. Like you're either climbing or you're like belaying slash hanging out. For like ice climbing, alpine climbing, it's definitely a different story. And I'd say like more maybe on the ski side of the spectrum. Um, and so yeah, it's just like different priorities and weighing them like, prioritizing them appropriately.
Yeah. Cool. Well, yeah, I was pretty excited to see your product. It's kind of rare, in my opinion, to find a new product in the outdoors that. So I started working in ski shops when I was 16. I'm now 37, and I've other than a 2-year hiatus when I lived in Europe, I was I've worked in ski shops that almost that entire time. I guess the last few years I haven't worked in the ski shop. I've owned the ski shop, but I haven't worked in it day to day.
Yeah.
But other than that, I've kind of worked in ski shops, and I've seen all of the new product that comes out year after year and stuff like that. And I would say that for me, it's fairly rare to see a new product that really excites me, and that I feel is kind of thinking outside the box of and it's not that your pack is so much different than other packs. It's the little details though that I feel like
Yeah.
are better thought out and
I think
make
it's focused. Yeah. Like I think it's focused. It has a clear point of view on how someone should interact with it.
yeah,
And I think people at this point have maybe been are a little bit more wary of the new brands that come out with like a half-baked product. And at least what I've been told is it's exciting to see what seems like a fully baked product. I think it's a fully baked product and is addressing, some of the things the bigger brands haven't been able to figure out.
yeah, yeah, very cool. So I guess the next step for me is I need to get one, and I need to start
Yeah,
using
you do.
it. So that was, I guess, maybe my final question is like your inventory. Do you have a pretty decent inventory? Are you
Things are selling fast. We're sold out of the white pack and medium large.
mhm,
Um, we're yeah, close to selling out of the white small medium. I guess I ordered a lot more black than white, and then white has
selling
not
better?
been more popular than black, but has been more popular than I expected.
Sure.
Um, but the black pack looks really cool in person. It doesn't quite come through on the website how different it looks in person. Um, and yeah, I mean, we're less than 100 units left in every color slash size combo. Um, so, going into this, I had no idea if I was going to sell half of the inventory this season, half next season, but looks like we're on track to sell out for the season.
Awesome. So is the plan then to bring in your next order for next fall?
Yeah, yeah, we will not be restocking this winter just
Yeah,
with the timing
sure.
and the lead times. It doesn't quite work out,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
cool. And then you said there's some other products that are in the works. You said a 30-liter pack coming out next season
Yeah,
in
yeah,
addition.
winter 24, 25. Yeah.
Very cool.
Um,
Awesome.
yeah, and then we'll be entering apparel at some point. Really excited about that.
Oh, cool.
And then entering trail running with a product that I personally am very excited about. So, yeah, stay tuned.
Nice. And you're doing all this by yourself. I'm impressed. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's hard. I haven't slept very much recently.
well, that probably means that you're going to be successful because most most successful companies, in my experience and in my opinion, are led by people who are willing to put in the work, lose the sleep, whatever they need to, and they don't really start hiring a bunch of people to do the work for them until they're absolutely like can't do more by themselves. I've
Yeah.
I've been
Yeah. I mean, I
involved,
want your dollars to go towards your products and not some bloated team.
right? I've I've I'm very intimately familiar with some companies who did it the other way, where they had a vision, which was a cool vision, but weren't willing to make the sacrifices and hired a lot of people, and then it didn't work out because, well, for a variety of reasons. Financially, they just put too many dollars toward other things than toward the company, the product, and that sort of thing. So it seems to me like you're doing it right. So I'm pretty excited about that because I want this company to be around for a long time, and
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm excited to see the future products you put out because this pack seems dialed. If this is kind of the attention to detail that you're putting into your products, I can't wait to see what comes next.
Yeah, it's there. It's going to be pretty cool. I'm pretty excited.
Awesome. Well, very cool. Do you have anything that you haven't said that you'd want to add before we wrap this?
No, I mean, you can follow us on Instagram, raide.research, websites, raideresearch.com. That those two, like signing up for our newsletter, following us on Instagram are the best places to stay tuned on like stock updates, new products, etc. Um, and yeah, you can reach out to info@raideresearch.com if you have any questions.
Very cool. All right. Well, I'm gonna stop recording here. I'll end the interview here, but after I stop recording, I've got one or two other questions.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed that interview with Kyle Siegel. I sure did. I think Raide Research has a bright future with him at the helm as the CEO as well as the designer. What a bright young man, and what a cool product. Um, if you haven't already, don't forget to go to Instagram and follow him on Instagram. I'm sure that's where you'll probably hear the updates on when he gets new products in stock and when he launches new products and all that stuff. So, and then just a quick reminder again, Liberty Blankets. If you are interested in checking out Liberty Blankets, go to libertyblanketco.com and then use YT30 at checkout if you decide that you want one or two. YT30 at checkout will give you 30% off. And if you buy two or more, you'll get free shipping. All right. Thanks for joining us today. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon for notifications or, all that stuff that people say. All righty. Thanks. And we'll see you on the next one.